Yesterday, Sayadaw was preaching on the opposing Dhamma nature, which obstructs one mind, which hinders, or which impure one's mind. So these are the evils or the immorals in our mind. As long as a person is unable to practice the righteous method in methodical way, then one cannot dispel all these evil mind in oneself. So today, Sayadaw would like to preach further in accordance with the literature as well to have a systematic practice. For the beginner, however we have been listening to the discourses, then if we are not practicing systematically and methodically as a basic or a foundation from the very beginning, we are not a proper meditators. So Sayadaw would like to continue to preach today on how to practice systematically or methodically. As for the people who comes from the West, their concept is when they have to listen to a subject repeatedly, they feel bored. Sayadaw says he understood about this. For the mundane subject, maybe it is true. But for the Dhamma line or the Dhamma practice, that is to lead to the supramundane line, is so profound and so serious. That's why it is very important to listen repeatedly as well to practice repeatedly. Only then, at one time, we are going to see clearly or vividly of the truism. How to practice systematically or methodically means to the meditation field or to the object. Whatever the object that has happened in the past, or only when the causes are favorable, then as an object it will crop up in the future, is not yet come. So only the object which currently or present which occurred only at the present moment is the surest way of seeing the reality. So that's why when we focus to the present rise and fall of our abdomen, then with our in-breath, our abdomen expands, and with our out-breath, then your abdomen contract or fall inwards. So you will be seeing the stiffness and expansion or the relaxation in the falling phenomenon. As for the things that have happened about a minute ago, that have happened about 1 hour ago, or that have happened about 1 day ago, or that have happened in the past 1 month time, they were the past incidences. So if we are trying to contemplate on these past incidences like rising and falling, what has happened in the past, or in the seeing, hearing or taste, then it is not the righteous method. So that's why it cannot be samma patipatti. That is not the righteous method or the right practice. And also, what is going to happen in the future? So in a few minutes time, or in the future, near future time, within that short time, how this rising, falling or seeing, hearing will occur, we are not sure how it will look like. So this, of course, the future incidences will occur to you, but we are not sure how it will happen. And with that expectation, if we are noting so too, it is also not correct. That's why the correct way of practicing to live at the present moment and note to the present occurrence, that is the righteous method. The present object means that occurred as a fresh object or while it is hot. Then in accordance with Satipatthana Dhamma practice, if we are focusing our mind to the object, the present object as soon as it occurred with an alert mind, or forcing our mind into the object, or piercing our mind into the object and grabs the object instantly. But instead of noting in that manner, when the object occurred in your noting mind, then instead of noting with the precise and concise noting, then you are thinking why this happened, how it is, and so forth. If you are thinking that way, that thought becomes as a hindrance in your practice also. That's why Sarah explained it is very important, where as soon as the object crop up, instantly you focus on the object, you plunge into that object, you dive into that object and grabs on it. That is very important. So if you can note it that way, then that yogi is practicing in Samapatipatti, or in the right method. As in a prescribed manner, if we note on the object seriously and with devoted mind, if we note it, we will come to know the object. But instead of precise noting, then at that time our mind can be deceived by vijikesa, that is doubt or perplexity. What it is, how it is, and so forth, there is a doubt in our mind. So if there is a doubt, you cannot see the reality of the nature. It is a kind of thought. Once that thought crop up in your mind, and if you are carried away, then you will be deceived by this vijikesa. Because you are carried away by this doubt mental flaw, then you have been influenced by the deceiving mind. So at first you thought you are reflecting. At first you thought you are trying to speculate and trying to understand about it. But actually it is not. You are deceived by perplexity. In that way you thought you have the knowledge. But if your thinking or a thought, if it is a little bit near to the thought of the reality, it doesn't harm you very much. But to that knowledge, if you think this is the real wisdom, then that misconception or wrong understanding make you under the influence of vijikesa or doubt. So if you are reflecting in that manner with that what you consider as the wisdom, then if you are carried away with this perplexity or doubt for 1 minute, then you are wasting the moments of noting for 60 moments or 60 times. And for that 60 times you have already wasted your time not to understand the truth. If you are carried away for 5 minutes, then 300 times or 300 moments of the 300 moments you are away from the truth. And also for 1 hour, if you are carried away with thoughts, there are 3,600 moments of the thoughts are influencing in your mind, and you are carried away and you are wasting your time. So in that way, as it is a real practical walk, in this practice, it is very important to note as it occurred. If not, then as it is this vijikesa or the doubt or perplexity crop up in you, you misconceive or misunderstand this is as a knowledge, and you are under the influence of it. To extend our knowledge in connected with the Dhamma practice, at this point, Sayadaw would like to point out the two nature of strength called as pala. This two nature of strength or pala is Deep Sankhana pala, means it is from your mind you speculate. This is a kind of speculation, that is one kind of strength. But the truth is the bhavana pala, how we should build in. That is the strength we accumulate through the practice of meditation, through which we would make it pure our mind, and we will make our mind more mature. As for the first kind of bala or the strength, Patisekkhana bala, that is the reflective or the speculative mind in oneself. That as much and more, if we are having this kind of speculative mind, this will conduce one to develop more and more of imagination and thinking. As these are the not real knowledge, then one cannot see the truism of the nature. And also, even if one see with that reflective mind, maybe it is a shadow of the truth. So Sayadaw gave an example like a person who have not seen an elephant. However one describe about the elephant, or even if one draws a picture, this is so called as an elephant, maybe you see or you perceive the shadow of it, but you have not really seen the elephant. So that's why with this speculative or reflective mind, we cannot see the sabhava or the truism or the truth of all the nature. As for one who wanted to upgrade one's mind, it is very important to come to see the truism of all the nature is we must strengthen our mind with bhavana bala. That is the strength through cultivation of mind. As for the former part, that is through speculation and reflecting mind, because they cannot see the truism of the Dhamma nature, then their mind will be also connected with tanha or craving. They cannot eradicate craving nor anger or ill will. So in that way, their mind will be time and again piled up with kilesa or defilements. That is what reflective or speculative mind will conduce one to end up with. That's why to strengthen our bhavana bala mind or the strength through mental cultivation is we need to note, for example, to rise and fall of our abdomen. The more we are able to note, we multiply. The more we are able to note, we flourish. The more we are able to note, we propagate the stamina. If one's noting mind slips off from the line of this Dhamma practice, then naturally your mind will be colored or sit in with craving, ill will, and etc. So that's why to prevent our mind from the coloring of these impurities, we need to strengthen with multiplying these bhavana bala strength. That is the strength through mental cultivation. If we are building up the strength through mental cultivation, if 1 minute we are able to note, that is, there are 60 moments. So for 60 moments, you multiply and accumulate in your mind. So in that way, you are multiplying time and again, much and more, to strengthen the bhavana through bhavana. To multiply in that manner, we needed to focus our mind on to the present occurrence, on to the present object, with piercing mind or plunging our mind into the object. If we cannot note it in that manner, then our mind becomes sluggish because there is no interest in it. It is not alert, it is not active. But opposite nature, if we are able to plunge or penetrate our mind into the object precisely or concisely, then you become more alert. Your mind is active, and you driven away the sluggishness and laziness of our mind. In that manner, we are accumulating cultivating the strength from cultivation of our mind. So you become more brave in this practice, and also you are more eager than the time before, and you have the courage to go on to pursue this practice, and you are able to note more and better than before. That is why we can do that way, is because we have strengthened the sati or mindfulness stamina. With that stamina of mindfulness, if we are having this righteous viriya or effort, then if it is in a right manner, then it is connected to its mental components of sati and also with samadhi or concentration. So these are the strength or the powers of our mind. If we can accumulate or multiply and strengthen our mind in that manner, we are coming to see all the truism of the nature as it is and as they are. So Sayadaw explained, to come to see all the truism, it is very important to accumulate our strength called bhavana pala. That is the strength through mental cultivation. So how this is important, we should understand. As a summarization, we need to fix down in our mind is Patisankhana pala, that is the strength from speculation and reflecting. However we do this, this cannot conduce one to come to see the truism of the nature. Not only that, it even obstruct or disturbed in the mind, in the line of your Dhamma practice. So we needed to understand it very deeply. By remembering that what we need to strengthen in our mind is, we must strengthen bhavana pala. That is the strength through cultivation of our mind. This is the only strength we need to build up, which is the real work to practice in this Dhamma line. As for the yogis who are beginning to practice in this meditation, what we should do, Sayadaw guided that what we should do is, we need to observe or note to the present occurrences. Only when we are able to note to the present occurrences, we are able to see the truism as it is and as they are. It should be the reality, but it is not your imagination and thinking. If you are noting in that way, you will be really seeing the truism as it crop up. So while it occurred, or that means at the present moment or from seeing, hearing, etc., rising, falling, stepping, etc., to all these present moments, we should observe attentively to penetrate into the object. Only if we are able to do in that manner, then one is coming to understand dukkha satya, that is the truth of suffering. The nearest example Sayadaw like to give is, if you want to fold your palm or to fold as a fist, so before you fold your palm and the fingers, then you will be aware of the intention to fold your palm. This intention occurred when your observing mind is noted accurately at that moment. Then you are aware of the intention from your mind. But if your noting mind is late to that mind occurrence, or if you try to observe only after you have already folded your fist, then you cannot see this intention from your mind. Even though you may be thinking you have seen it, but it is just your imagination, it is not the reality. It is not the true seeing. Only when one sees the reality at the present occurrence, then that is the real seeing or direct knowledge one is having. In that way, if one is understanding the intention from our mind is, this intention mind behavior is paramattha or absolute truth or ultimate truth. When we are following to the process of folding our palm, then as we are noting and observing properly, we will be seeing numerous nature of stiffness, tension, tightness, heat, cold, and unbearable nature, etc. All these numerous nature will be seen from your observing mind. But contrary to this, if you are not focusing your mind attentively to the folding of your palm, you won't know anything, and these Dhamma nature will never reveal into your mind. If you are really focusing and attentively noting on the process of folding of your palm, then in the process of folding of your palm, all these natures in the palm, as they are working out in a series, these series of the nature are followed by noting with the preceding mind in succession with the present mind and the following mind. So in that way, you will come to have a direct knowledge, because you live at the present moment. Why we come to know? Because we note at the present moment. To come to understand the Sabhava or the Dhamma nature, Sayadaw explained as it is expounded by the Lord Buddha, giving an equivalent example to the savory of the food or the taste. There are 6 types of taste: sweet, sour, bitter, hot, and pungent. So if any kind of, and salty, if any kind of taste, when you are observed, you will come to know it. So when you are chewing, then you will come to know the taste of sweet as sweet, sour as sour, salty as salty, whenever the food is in touch with your tongue base. But if one come and asks you, can you show me that there is a sweet sour? No, we cannot show, we cannot prove it like a materiality. But there is the taste, everybody knows it. So, in the like manner, in our body and mind too, these Dhamma natures cannot be shown like the materiality, but with our penetrative mind or real focusing on the realities, we will come to understand all these truisms as they are. For example, like mind. Mind has no materiality. It has the quality of just awareness, or this is consciousness. But everyone knows that we all have mind and consciousness is there. So likewise, whenever we have to encounter any kind of object, we are aware of the face of the body. So in our body too, as we are made up of all these fundamental elements like Prithvi, that is the elements of earth. Whenever we encounter roughness or softness or hardness, these are the characteristics of Prithvi Dhatu. As for Vayu Dhatu, the same, that is the wind element. Whenever there is motion, stiffness, tension, these are the characteristics of wind element. Whenever we are aware of hot or warmth, these are the characteristics of Tejo Dhatu or fire element. So these nature from our mind as well from our body, if we note it, we will be knowing like as we are knowing on the different types of taste. So this is called as charasa, that is your own taste, or you have tasted with your own experience. So to come to know the taste of the food too, although we put the food in our mouth, but we swallow it swallow it as soon as we put the food inside our mouth, then we don't know anything about the taste. Or if we chew only for 1 or 2 moments, then we will come to know the taste for 1 or 2 moments. Even for that point too, Sayadaw says that only if we are able to direct our mind while we are chewing, then we will know the taste for 1 or 2 moments. But if we try to digest it with that chewing and note it carefully on these tastes, then to each and every moment we will come to understand. So in that way too, as we are noting in the nature of our body and mind, if we are noting as if we are digesting to come to know the Dhamma, the taste nature, then we will come to see the distinctive nature of the Dhamma. So that is the direct knowledge or the true knowledge you are attaining. To have the direct awareness in accordance with our Satipatthana Dhamma practice, we need to observe to the 4 foundations of meditation field. As one foundation is, we need to observe to the physical part or Kaya-nupassana. And second is, whatever kind of feelings occurred in you, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant or whatsoever, you have to observe it, and that is the Vedana-nupassana. And the third is the Seta, or we have to note on the mind or consciousness, whether this is pure or impure or immoral. As such, we have to note. And the fourth is the Dhamma. Dhamma means all the mental objects from our sense of seeing, hearing, smell, etc. Then whatever the object occurs in you, then you have to note to the present moment from these 4 foundations of meditation fields. That's why this is stressed as anupassana. Anupassana, anu means this is repeatedly, time and again or repeatedly. Passana is you focus it and note it closely and firmly. So that's why whenever we note as an object when it occurred in your body or physical part, note it precisely and attentively. Whatever the feelings occurred in you, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, note it precisely. Whatever the mind nature occurred in you, whether it is pure or impure, note it precisely. As an mental object of seeing, hearing, etc., whenever they occur to the present moment, you note it precisely. So to this noting, Sayadaw reminds us that we must note it with the right aim, and with that mental force, note it closely and deeply. If it is a superficial noting, it is not sufficient enough to see the truth. In the word anu, or repeatedly, within that word there are strength. This strength is shown in the literature as Atapi Satima Samajano. Atapi means this is you have to rush in a hot manner. That is, it shouldn't be cold from your mind. It shouldn't be sluggish. It shouldn't be slackened. And also, when this observing mind is focusing on to the object in a hot manner, or in an alert manner, or in an active manner, or in an eager manner, this atapi, which should be hot while it is to observe, then this also needs other supporting factor too. This supporting factor in Vipassana too, we should have jhana. That is, jhana is we have one-pointedness of mind. This one-pointedness of mind to focus on the object is, it is walk from a mental property called vitakka. Vitakka is the application of our mind onto the object. This application of our mind onto the object, it should rush into with force, with one-pointedness. If these qualities are lacking, then we are not walking out properly in this observation walk. So to the object, if we are focusing with our noting mind, it should be hot while the object occurs. There must be the right aim, and it needs the supporting factor or the supporting force, as an effort. If we are able to note in that manner, then we are covering or really sticking to the object properly. That is termed as satima. That is, we are noting properly and covering up or observing on it properly. So, as Sayadaw says that, as it is shown in the commentary, that if one should explain about sati, connected with the sati or mindfulness, also equivalently considered should be the samadhi, that is the concentration. So if there is mindfulness and concentration in unique manner, if they walk, then they are in Vipassana. They are attentively and precisely noting on it. So in that way, you will come to see the stiffness, tension, etc. as we follow in the rise and fall of our abdomen. So that's why that is called as samajana. So with that, that is the knowledge we come to attain through proper practice. So that all these comes under Vipassana. This is a kind of Dhamma practice one needed to build in, or one needed to flourish or multiply in our mind, or to grow in our mind. If there is a growth of this mental development, then we are having Bhavana Bala. That is the strength from our mental cultivation. So to attain this Bhavana Bala, or the mental strength, whenever we go to our teachers in interview, we need to report in a simple manner. How simple it should be, then to any object, if we are able to do so, you just have to say so that you can note it. What you know, you just have to say what you have known. So that's why there are only the three parts. When there's rising, whether you are noting attentively, that is the second part. If you are noting attentively to the rising phenomenon, say or report what you know or what you perceive or experience. When there is falling, attentively are you able to note? If you are able to note so, report what you experience or what you observe. That's why Sayadaw explained that whatever the other object do, when we report about the sensation from our body or whatsoever, whether from our noting mind, if we can note it closely, then we have to say so. If not, we have to note it, we have to report it with in a humble way. Likewise, we have to report to our walking meditation how we step, and what we know we have to report. That's why Sayadaw says that whenever there's a present occurrence, are you able to focus your mind onto the present occurrence? If you are able to focus your mind onto the present occurrence, just say so or report as you observe. So this is the meaning of what Sayadaw says just now. So in the reporting, to report first is the prime object. That is the rising and falling of your abdomen. So the facts explained just now that are all involved in the practical walk. So the second part is, are we able to note precisely, concurrently, and are we able to adhere or stick to the object? Are we able to do so or not? We have to report. For example, like if we are following the rising of our abdomen, we should say, I am able to follow the rising phenomenon from beginning to end, and so and so. Likewise, to the falling phenomenon too, I am able to follow the beginning to the end of the falling phenomenon, and so and so. That means you are explaining or you are reporting the power of the walk, what you have done in the practice. So in that way, when a question is set to the yogi, you have to answer in that manner. The yogi will report to the teacher that I am able to note. If you are able to note, you have to note it carefully and thoroughly onto the object from beginning to the end of the process. If you report it in that manner, I am able to do so, and you are able to observe from the beginning to end of the object, mean because you really did observe. So at least one or two nature of the phenomenon you will come to understand. So this is somewhat like in the given example of knowing the taste. If you are chewing thoroughly, then you know the different tastes of the food. So likewise, if you are able to observe or note the present object properly and attentively, you are able to report what you observe. So whatever you are able to note, you have to say correctly to the teacher. Then to this report means Sayadaw stress very much, you must say what you really seen or what you really perceive from your mind. It shouldn't be what you think. So if you are noting precisely and thoroughly onto the object, you will be seeing. Whatever you have seen with your direct mind, then you have to say so. That is the direct knowledge through your own practice. So that's why in the reporting, whenever we report to our teacher, we have to report about the experience on rising and falling, that as I note closely and carefully on the process of rising and falling, what I have observed, that is really seen, is very, very important. But what you think you have seen is not the true picture. So that's why Sayadaw stressed that what you think you have seen is not the truism. It is you think you are seeing. So Sayadaw cannot give time to the yogis who think and what they report what they think. But Sayadaw have to give time to the yogi only what they have really seen, the true nature of the object. So considering to save time for the teacher as well to the fellow yogis, you have to report what you have seen vividly. Sayadaw explained that this Satipatthana Dhamma practice is considered as a self-research. This self-research means you are trying to find all the truth that really exists in you. So it is like people who are trying to dig underneath the earth what they would find. When they unearth, then they will find some of the things. So whatever they found, they have to report to the concerned people. Only then, if they say so, they are doing the real research. But if they are saying what they didn't find under the earth, then that is not the real research. So likewise, as we are trying to research into ourselves, we needed to research or observe it properly and attentively. So that's why when we report about, for example, on the rising and falling of our abdomen, in the case of rising, whatever you see, you just report in a simplest manner. That is, I see the form of the abdomen heaving up and down, or I see the manner, or I see the tension, stiffness, etc. Whatever you experience, you just have to say so. So in the interview or reporting to the teacher, we should use only the simple terms and say what we experience. So only in that manner if we report, then it is natural and it is practical. So likewise, when we go for reporting on the manner of walking meditation, we have to report that I am able to note precisely in the walking meditation, stepping, forwarding and dropping down, and I am able to focus attentively on the foot movement, then you have to report whatever you experience or whatever you observe. For example, in the lifting, you have to say it as, I have seen the form of the foot just moving up, or just say the manner of the moving, or the lightness or the heaviness, or whether it is pushed upward or so. Whatever you experience, you have to say so. So likewise, when you are forwarding or pushing forward of your foot, you just have to say what you experience, whether the form or the manner or whatever you experience, you have to say. Likewise, when you are stepping down your foot too, as you observe attentively, you will be seeing the form, or maybe the manner, or maybe the pressure pressing on it, or hot, or stiffness, or heaviness, or whatsoever you see, you have to say so. So when a yogi reports that I can observe properly, mean if you observe properly, you will be seeing something, or you will be perceiving something from the object you are noting. But if that noting is not attentive and not thorough, then you cannot see properly. So whenever a yogi goes for reporting, one should say whatever one have perceived or seen or experienced. But one shouldn't report what he or she thought so and so. So only when the sure experience or sure observation, what you know, you just have to report so. Whenever a yogi reports to the teacher, as soon as what they have said to the teacher, then the Kammatthana Sarya or the teacher, from the saying, understood what they are saying, whether they can walk out or not. So in this practice, the walk of the meditation is very simple and clear. So simple that if you are able to do so or observe, then your awareness on these object or the nature too are clear. So that's why we have to report in a simple manner what we have seen or what we have observed. No need to add other additionals. Sarah explained, if you cannot note, then report what you experience. That is, you cannot note mean you cannot note on the primary object the rising, falling in the sitting, as well to the foot movements in the walking. So if you cannot follow and observe, that means your mind is not on the object, it slips off. Why it slips off? There must be a cause. That slip off means because you are carried away with your imagination or thought, or because there is itchiness or some other sensations, then you cannot note. So why you cannot note to the prime object, you have to say so. So if your mind is carried away with the imaginations or speculation or whatever, then you have to say, or because you are observing that any kind of sensation, how you observe, you have to say so. That's why in a summarization, we observe or note it, we know or we perceive it, and what we know, we have to say so. If you are able to note on the rising and falling, and while noting so, if your mind slips off, then you must be able to note if you did really observe on the mind behavior. So if you are following to the mind behavior, what happened? You must be able to say so. Or are you carried away with this flow of mind behavior, long or short? Or with a short noting of mind behavior, spontaneously my mind goes back to rising and falling or so. If you are really able to note, then you will be able to say what you observe. For example, if you are noting on the itchiness, if you are really observing, you will be knowing this itchiness intensity is increasing or decreasing or sustained or whatever. If you are noting in that way or observing in that way, then you are walking out as a in Anupasana. That is, repeatedly observing, attentively noting. But if you are not knowing anything of the nature of the object, then you are opposite to Anupasana. That is, you are not repeatedly noting or attentively observing to the object. So Sayadaw explained there are some yogis who are able to report precisely and clearly to the experience on the object. As I am noting on the itchiness, this itchiness intensity increasing as I note, or it disappear instantly and so forth, they will be reporting very clear cut. So that's why if that is the case, then Sayadaw says this is the walk of the real research. If it is not, then you are not closely looking into the object. So whatever the object nature may be, as soon as it crop up or as soon as it arises, if you note it, you observe it closely and carefully, you will be knowing the nature or observing the nature. What you experience, you have to report to the teacher. So if you are reporting in a clear-cut manner of what you observe, the Kammatthana Sariya or the teacher is very satisfied and happy. But if you report about what you think what you think of that object is or are, then the teacher is unhappy and he lost interest. If a yogi is noting to the present occurrence, for example, if that yogi is noting attentively, for example, to the unbearable sensations like pain or itchiness, then they report vividly in a clear-cut manner. As I note this unbearable pain, the more I note, the intensity of the pain is increasing. I just wanted to give up. My mind behaves so and so. And I have this kind of intention that I like to surrender. Or even I sweat from the armpit and I couldn't contemplate on the pain. But I try and endure as much as possible and so forth. In a series of an experience, whatever the yogi have known on that phenomenon, the yogi will be reporting in a clear-cut manner. If a yogi is reporting in a clear-cut manner, then the teacher come to know or come to understand this yogi is noting attentively with due respect in this Dhamma practice, and this yogi too will fit in the line of this Dhamma practice very soon. So in that way, the master or the teacher come to understand about that yogi beforehand. So as you are noting precisely on to the present occurrences or the nature, we should note it without fail to each and every second. Not only that, we should note on the four postures, and we must be able to control our indriya or the faculties, so that whenever we do walking, standing, etc., we must be able to note it continuously. Except from our sleeping hours, our duty as an intensive meditator is to note constantly and continuously. So that's why Sayadaw explained that the yogis in this meditation hall are like the commandos who are fighting against the enemy from front. So if they have any absence of mind, surely they will be attacked by the enemies. So likewise to the yogis too, if we fail to note for the moment, we will be attacked by the kilesa or the defilements at that moment. So now, as Sayadaw have come to the end of her preaching, Sayadaw says that may you all be able to practice diligently and properly, so that not to succumb to the enemies of defilements. Sa